This bridge nearly fell apart, with people still driving on it, a ticking time bomb hiding in plain sight. The Washington Bridge in Rhode Island didn't collapse, but it came close. Too close. And almost no one outside the state even noticed. What seemed like routine construction uncovered a nightmare. Critical parts were breaking, others were rotting from the inside. Engineers had to act fast. The result? One of the most bizarre and dangerous design failures in recent memory. This story is about more than a broken bridge. It's about how small choices can lead to massive consequences. Let's get into it. Background and history of the Washington Bridge. The first Washington Bridge was built in 1930. It crossed the Seekonk River, connecting Providence and East Providence. It was made of stone and concrete and had elegant arches and a classic look. Today, part of that original bridge is used by pedestrians and cyclists. Traffic started growing fast in the late 1950s, and the old bridge couldn't handle the load. When I-195 expanded, a second bridge was planned to carry westbound traffic. That's when things got complicated. The federal government wanted a plain steel girder bridge. It was simple, cheap, and quick to build. But Rhode Island pushed back. Officials didn't like something ugly next to the old, graceful structure. After years of back and forth, they compromised. The new bridge would use steel and concrete but include fake arches to match the older design. It looked good outside, but that choice came at a cost. While other interstate bridges followed standard designs, this one stood out. It had unique features, unusual construction methods, and a mix of materials. Over time, these decisions made the bridge harder to inspect, maintain, and repair. What began as a battle over looks became a silent setup for future failure. The evolution of bridge engineering. Bridge design changed a lot in the mid-20th century. America was building fast. The interstate highway system was launched in 1956. It aimed to connect the entire country with smooth, grade-separated roads. Those meant bridges, thousands of them. Steel was expensive and in short supply, so engineers started using pre-stressed concrete. It was a new way to make bridges lighter, stronger, and cheaper. Standard concrete is strong under pressure but weak when pulled. That's where steel comes in. In bare reinforced concrete, steel bars sit inside and help hold tension, but they only kick in after cracks form. Pre-stressing changed that. It put the steel under stress before the bridge even opened, making the whole structure tighter, stronger, and less likely to crack. There are two main ways to pre-stress. In pre-tensioning, steel is stretched before pouring the concrete. It's done in a factory. In post-tensioning, steel cables are added after the concrete sets. They're tightened on-site using special jacks. The Washington Bridge used both. This was rare and advanced at the time. It allowed for longer spans and unique shapes, but it also meant more hidden parts. Cables inside concrete, anchor points out of view. That made future inspections much harder and riskier. The design flaws and imbalance. The Washington Bridge westbound span was far from ordinary. It had 18 spans using different structural types. Most bridges keep things simple, but this one didn't. The main spans over water used cantilever beams. That means the beams weren't just resting on the piers. Instead, they were supported in the center and stretched out in both directions like a seesaw. Pre-tensioned concrete girders were dropped in between these cantilever arms. This creative setup was also complicated, and complications often lead to problems. The biggest issue? Balance. Most cantilever beams on the bridge were balanced, with each side having equal weight, but not all. Balance was missing at the west end and at the navigation span. Those beams had more weight on one side. That made them want to tip or rotate. To stop this, engineers added steel tie-down rods. These rods anchored the beam ends, holding them tight to the pier. But here's the problem. Some of those rods were exposed to the elements. Others were buried deep inside the bridge. Not easy to see, not easy to check. In past reports, no special note was made about their importance. Over time, rust and wear weakened them, but no one knew, at least not until it was almost too late. Designing a bridge with hidden critical parts was a huge risk. Making it this complex just to match appearances added layers of difficulty. It worked for decades, but in the end, this unusual setup made the bridge fragile. When one thing started to fail, the whole system was in danger. The 2023 inspection and discovery. The westbound span of the Washington Bridge was inspected in July 2023. It passed. The report marked it as poor condition, but still safe for traffic. No major warnings were issued. Then came December. An engineer working on a construction project under the bridge noticed something strange. Tie-down rods near the navigation span looked broken. These rods were critical. They kept unbalanced beams from tipping. If they failed, parts of the bridge could move or fall. 3 days later, a detailed inspection began. What they found was alarming. Multiple rods were fractured entirely, and the beams they were meant to hold were not performing as designed. That same day, the Rhode Island Department of Transportation shut down the bridge. It was too dangerous to keep open. Traffic was rerouted to the eastbound side, and the lanes were narrowed to accommodate both directions. The closure caused chaos. Commutes doubled. Businesses struggled. Many people were left wondering how this happened. The truth is, many of these rods were hard to see. Some were hidden behind concrete, and some inspections simply missed them. In one case, a photo from July was used to prove a rod was intact, but the break was hidden behind a pier. It became clear the bridge was holding secrets, and they were just starting to come out. The investigation uncovers more issues. After the broken tie-down rods were found, engineers dug deeper. What started as a repair job turned into a full-blown investigation, and things got worse with every step. Crews set up platforms to access the underside of the bridge. Once they got close, more damage appeared. The concrete in the beams was cracked and crumbling, and pieces were falling apart. They ran tests, core samples, radar scans, and even drilled into the beams. Inside, they found soft grout and empty spaces where solid material should have been. Water had gotten in, and rust was eating away at the steel cables. The post-tension system was failing. The anchor points were corroded. The grout meant to protect the cables had gaps. In some spots, the wires themselves were already rusted through. Why did this happen? The original concrete didn't include tiny air bubbles, a standard method to prevent freeze-thaw damage. Water entered through road deck joints above and froze in winter, expanding and breaking the concrete inside out. This wasn't just one problem. It was layers of decay and design flaws stacked together. Every test uncovered something new and bad. By the time the inspection ended, it was clear this bridge was not safe to fix. It was falling apart from the inside. The decision to demolish and the fallout. At first, Rhode Island planned to fix the bridge. They would replace the broken rods and strengthen the beams. But as more damage was revealed, that plan fell apart. The concrete was too soft, and the steel was too corroded. Even removing the road deck was risky. The load might shift, and no one could guarantee the structure would hold. Fixing it was not just expensive, it was dangerous. Engineers listed the repair options. Every one was complex, limited, or wouldn't solve the core issues. The decision became clear. The bridge had to be torn down. Demolition started, but it wasn't simple either. The state wanted to reuse the old piers and foundation. It would save time and money. But no contractors wanted the job. It was too risky. What else might be hiding in that old concrete? By October 2024, the state had changed course. The entire structure, including the substructure, would be removed, and a new bidding process would begin. Meanwhile, the legal battle started. Rhode Island sued 13 companies, claiming the inspections failed to spot key problems. Then, the U.S. Department of Justice launched a federal investigation under the False Claims Act. The bridge wasn't just a construction failure anymore. It was now a political and legal storm, one still growing. The ongoing challenges and public impact. The closure of the bridge has changed daily life in Rhode Island. Traffic is a mess. Commutes that once took 15 minutes now take over an hour. Businesses near the bridge have lost customers and some may not survive. Even with traffic rerouted, the roads aren't built for this load. Frustration is growing and people want answers. The state hopes to finish a new bridge by 2026, but that's just a goal. No contractor has been selected yet, and each delay adds more cost and stress. There's also fear. If one bridge failed like this, could others be next? The public is watching. They're angry, tired, and worried. Until something changes, the Seekonk River will remain a symbol of failure and a warning to look deeper. The Washington Bridge didn't collapse, but it easily could have. Its strange design hid dangers no one saw coming. By the time problems surfaced, it was too late. What began as a minor upgrade turned into a complete demolition. Now, it's a warning. A bridge should be built to last and be seen, checked, and cared for. Hidden flaws are time bombs. This story shows what happens when looks win over logic. It's a lesson for engineers, officials, and anyone who builds for the future. We can do better before things fall apart.